Hi everyone, I'm Rhonda from Acres of Clay, and today I'm going to share with you my newest way of preserving foods. If you have been following my channel for any length of time, you probably realize that I enjoy preserving foods, especially foods that I grow, that come out of the garden, or that I purchase locally that are in season. I'll tell you a little bit of the backstory behind all of this. So in January of this year, the first part of the year, our deep freezer stopped working. One morning, my son went down into the garage where we keep it, and he heard it humming, but it wasn't kicking on. So we looked into getting parts for it, but this deep freezer was used when we got it, which was about 20 years ago. And it looked old when we got it, so I really have no idea how old this deep freeze was. All of the parts that we looked for were pretty much obsolete, so there was no purchasing replacement parts to fix it. We were in a really cold spell, being January here in Michigan, and so what we did was we took the freezer out of the garage, set it outside, and it stayed frozen until we could purchase a new one. During this time, Kevin and I got thinking we need to step up our preservation game and look into maybe ways of preserving foods long term without necessarily depending on electricity or even like the freezer that can go bad. So during that time, Kevin and I talked it over and we decided to go with a Harvest Right freeze dryer. If you are not familiar with Harvest Right freeze dryers, I'm going to show you what we have and talk to you a little bit about the whole process of freeze drying. Today I'm going to actually be freeze drying some fruit. I have some strawberries and pears. I've even picked up some frozen stuff from a local grocery store. I have tropical fruit. It's frozen. It's already chunked up and ready to go. And pineapple. So this is chunked pineapple. None of this is sweetened or anything. It's just plain fruit. I've been playing around with this freeze dryer for a little bit. I had some issues at the beginning where I had to send the freeze dryer back to the company because it wasn't working properly. The company was so easy to work with. They kept in contact with me. They got it in, got it fixed, and back to me as fast as they could. That's something that I really look for in a product and in a company, is somebody who cares about their customers. And so that's why I'm actually telling you about this product, because I actually stand behind what they're doing. And Harvest Right is, at the moment, is the only freeze drying company, I believe, that you can purchase for home use. Let me describe just a little bit about what freeze dried food is, and then I'll show you a few of the products that I've already freeze dried. I freeze, I dehydrate, I do all the preservation things that I can possibly do. As far as long term, keeping the quality of the food, keeping it for any length of time, canned foods I usually keep about 4 to 5 years. I don't think I have anything on the shelf older than that, just because we go through it so fast. Not saying that I wouldn't eat it past that, but for our family it usually doesn't stay on the shelf that long. A lot of you know that during the canning process, whether it be pressure canning or water bath canning, a lot of the nutrients is lost during that heating process. Some of it's retained, but a lot of it is lost. Some foods can stay in the freezer maybe a couple years before they really start changing their flavor or getting freezer burnt, depending on how you package them. But for the most part, our freezer stuff gets cycled through. I have found that dehydrated foods can last probably a couple years too. It depends on what it is. I have dehydrated apples for many years. I tried an experiment. I did a batch of apples and I put them in a Mylar bag with an oxygen absorber, and then a few years later, when I was eager to see what they tasted like, we opened them up, but they just didn't hold their flavor. They had lost most of the flavor and kind of had a weird flavor to them actually. I feel like dehydrated foods can last maybe 1 to 2 years. Now when we're talking about the freeze drying foods, they say, this isn't something that I know yet, but we'll be putting it to the test. They say that the foods that you freeze dry can last 15 to 30 years. And you're retaining 90 to 95% of that nutrients. Now I know you're probably wanting to see the freeze dryer. The freeze dryer is in my garage because I don't have really room in my house to set this anywhere, and it is kind of noisy. It cannot be located where it's super cold. I say between 40 and 75 degrees is ideal. Anything warmer than 75 and it's gonna take longer. Especially if it's humid. Another thing is, I'm going to be putting the pineapple on a tray and this tropical fruit. My freeze dryer is a medium. So there's small, medium, and large. So I have the medium, which comes with 4 trays. Each tray holds 2.5 pounds of food. So these bags are a pound, well this one's a pound and a half. I didn't even realize this. And this one's 2 pounds. This whole bag and that whole bag can go on a tray each. Now I have 2 more trays and they're already in my deep freeze. I have fresh strawberries on 1 tray that I just washed and sliced, and I put them in the deep freezer. And I have fresh pears that I also sliced and washed, and put them on a tray and put them in the deep freeze. The reason for that is you can't mix fresh fruit and frozen fruit. Everything has to be frozen or everything has to be unfroze, if that makes sense. So I'm freezing the fresh fruits right now, and these are already frozen. So once the strawberries and pears get froze, we should be good to go. Just gonna throw them all out. And this is the tropical blend. I'm not sure if all of this will fit, but it looks like I have whole strawberries in here. I'm gonna probably take these out because I'm already doing strawberries, and we'll probably have a smoothie with those or something. While everything is in the freezer, I put the pineapple chunks and the tropical fruit in the freezer also, just so everything stays frozen. The strawberries, I just checked, they're not quite ready yet to go in the freeze dryer. So once everything is ready, then I will bring you to the freeze dryer and we'll show you. But while we wait here, I wanted to share with you just a few of the things that I've already freeze dried and tried my hand at, and I'll just show you a few of them. I have a whole bunch, but I'll just talk about a few of these things. And I'll show you the texture because not all of these are sealed yet. These are apples that I did last week maybe. These here are just apple slices, and you can see I probably have these a good 1/4 of an inch, and they are crisp. I don't know if you can hear that on camera. They're crisp, crunchy, and I left the skins on these. I had some that I peeled, and I think from now on I'm just gonna leave the skins on because you don't even know that they're there. Apples are so good, it tastes just like an apple. And I know that if I put this in water, it's gonna reconstitute itself very, very well and very quickly. This here is a jar of yogurt bites, and there's 3 different varieties. I have vanilla yogurt, blueberry yogurt, and peach. And these, same thing. This is light as a feather. Tastes just like peach yogurt. What else have I done? I have done celery. Celery does really good. There's a lot of moisture in celery. I've done green peppers. These are all store-bought because right now I have nothing growing in the garden. These onions are from the garden. I had a bunch of them that were starting to feel a little bit soft, so I needed to do something. A lot of the times, towards the end of the year, I dehydrate the onions, but I decided to freeze dry some, and those are just so light and airy. And you can put these through like your Vitamix or some type of grinder and make your own onion powder. I've done peas. These are frozen peas. I've done eggs. Then I've done cheese. This is shredded cheese. I really like the shredded cheese, and you could probably grind this and make like a cheese powder with it too. This is what's pretty exciting. Most people think about freeze-dried foods, they think of astronaut food. Yeah, it's a staple there with NASA, but these are ice cream sandwiches, and my son Ethan wanted to try these, so crunchy. I don't know, these are pretty neat. I talked with Harvest Right and I became an affiliate with them. And what that means is that if somebody orders a Harvest Right freeze dryer through the link that I provide, I'll get a little bit of cut out of that. I know they are an investment, believe me. These things are not cheap, but if you are interested in this or you think this would benefit your homestead and your way of preserving foods, then I encourage you to click the link below, gain some knowledge. My fruit is all frozen, so these are the strawberry slices that I sliced up, and then I have pear, and then the other two that you already saw. And this is the freeze dryer. The unit that I have is white. They come in white, black, and stainless. And this is the pump, which is a vacuum pump. It's been running for at least 15 minutes. You always want to turn it on at least 15 minutes ahead of time. That gets the temperature down. Right now it says the internal temperature of this chamber is about 17 degrees, which is perfect for my already frozen fruit. I'm going to go ahead and place them right in. Slide them right in, just like that. Then I close the door. It has this rubber seal on the outside, or on the inside here, which this door, which is made of a very thick plexiglass, it suctions itself to it. So now I'm going to press OK. So now it starts the freezing process. And the way that this unit works is it's going to drop the temperature of this chamber and the fruit in here, or whatever it is that you're freeze drying, to -40, or right about -40 degrees Fahrenheit. Once it reaches that temperature, then this vacuum pump is going to kick on. Then this starts warming up. And once this starts warming up, the product that's in there, the food that's in there, is going to start releasing its moisture, the water that is in that item. And once it does that, it turns it into a gas. Then on the outside of this chamber will form, that gas will stick to the outside of this chamber and it will form ice on the outside of the chamber. And when you're completely finished with the freeze drying process, you take out your finished product, you take care of it, and you can push a defrost mode, and it will heat up the chamber, and that ice will melt. It'll go out through a tube, out through a drain tube, which I have draining into a bucket underneath my stand here. It will continue to do its drying process until it senses that the food is completely dry. So this whole process of freeze drying can take anywhere between 24 and even up to 48 hours, depending on how much moisture is in the product, what the temperature is of your room. There's a lot of factors that play in here, but once this is finished, I will bring you back. It'll probably be tomorrow sometime. I'll bring you back and I will show you what it looks like once it's all freeze dried. Alright, the freeze dryer is telling me that it's complete, and at this time I'm going to check the food to make sure that everything is completely dry. So I have to release the vacuum pressure. There's a valve on the back to do that. Alright, and it stays running until I'm done checking. Everything looks like it's crisp. This is the mango, papaya, pineapple mix. Everything here seems very done. Good. So that's good. Strawberries were probably done first. Oh yes, light as a feather. And the pineapple, we had to add time because the pineapple took the longest actually. So those all feel great. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead, shut this off. So let's see how these things turned out. I don't want to keep them out of the freeze dryer for very long into the air. So I'm going to be placing them in jars and putting a lid on them so that they don't absorb the moisture in the air. They can quickly start reabsorbing some moisture that's in the air. But this is the pineapple. Yeah, that is good. That is really good. That was really good pineapple. Alright, so let's try the strawberries. These are the strawberries, and the strawberries are so light and airy. And let's take a look. This is what they look like. They hold their color and their shape, everything. They just feel like foam. And there's like no weight to them. Oh wow. That is really, that's like eating a fresh strawberry. This tray is the papaya and the mango. Let's try a piece. I don't know if you can hear that, but these are light as a feather. And the flavor is so good. I love it. Now the pears, I sliced, but I left the skins on. Can you see that? I left the skins on. And you just snap. These taste just like a fresh pear. Amazing.